Good afternoon, viewers. You're welcome to Lunchtime Discuss on Vanguard Live. I am Ebelora, or your host, and today we'll be talking about kidnapping. Over the past few years, kidnapping has taken a new dimension. In the beginning, it was just expatriate oil workers were the major targets. They would kidnap them for ransom, get their money, release them. But in the past few years, we've noticed that the kidnapping industry, if I may call it that, has really increased with so many thousands of practitioners. The Boko Haram insurgents, herdsmen, bandits, and then the regular kidnappers all have joined the industry or the business. People are kidnapped at will, children, women, men, businessmen, school children. Nobody is an exemption. They kidnapped anyone that they could get money from. So joining me today to discuss this important topic is Dr. Lionel von Frederick Rollins via Zoom from Yola. He's a security expert, an ex-US Marine, and then the Assistant Vice President, Security and Safety Operations at the American University of Nigeria, Yola. Doctor, you're welcome.
Good afternoon from Yola.
Yeah. So how are you today?
I'm doing fine. It is very warm as usual in Yola, but we're doing well. Thank you.
Okay. So today we'll be talking about a very important topic, kidnapping. First of all, when I was growing up, when you talk about kidnapping, kids are supposed to be children, stealing of children, but today that's taking over. Even adults are being kidnapped. So how did the name come about? What is kidnapping really?
Well, actually, you are correct when you spoke about kids growing up, because the word kidnapping comes from the word years ago. Let me put it like this: children in old England used to be kidnapped. They were taken away. It was children who were taken away while they were taking a nap in their beds.
Oh, really?
During the course of the day or during the course of the night. Yeah. But they were children. It started off with children, kids, who were at home during the day taking a nap from mama say, papa say, take a nap. So they will go and take a nap, and while they were sleeping, someone will go in and steal them. And that's why the word kidnapping came into being. So it's funny how the word sounds kidnapping, but it has a meaning and it has an origin. So there you go. That's how kidnapping started.
Okay. Now, in the past few years in Nigeria, kidnapping has escalated. The rate. Why do you think it's so?
Well, quite simply, it has become it's not even it's a business, as you quite rightly said. It's a business. And the fastest way for anyone to make money right now is to become a kidnapper. For example, no matter how many cows you have, if you sold one cow and you are a herder, how many cows would you have to sell to make ₦1 million? If you were a farmer, how many bags of rice would you have to sell to make ₦1 million? How many, if you're a store owner, a shopkeeper, how many cans of sardines would you have to sell to make ₦1 million? All you have to do as a kidnapper is to kidnap one person, and you can get as much as 20 million, 15 million, 30 million. So it has become lucrative for them, all because there is no money, and people need a way to survive and suffice and live. And unfortunately, the bad boys or the bad people have seen that the benefits outweigh the cost. you stand trying to kidnap someone than doing anything else, because you will not get caught. And so this is the reason why you see such a humongous increase in kidnapping. They don't believe they will get caught.
And usually they don't get caught. Okay, now I want to know.
They usually do not get caught.
Is there a difference between kidnapping and abduction?
Oh yes, and that's a very good question too. That is a very good question, because somehow they get intertwined and interused, and we don't know which is which. Actually, the correct answer is both of them are actually the same kind of crime. However, the legal definition is different, and the consequences that you will get, or the charges that will be brought against you, will be different. For example, kidnapping is the taking away or carrying away of someone from some place to another place against their will by force. That is kidnapping. Abduction is the same thing, taking you away from some place to another place. But the difference is here's the difference. It is done by deception or fraudulent, or by using deception that causes you to participate in your own abduction. For example, if I were to pretend to be a policeman, I put on a policeman's uniform, I drive a policeman's car, and I stop you on the road in the middle of the night, and I take you away to a home or a house, and I use you for sexual proclivities or use you for ransom, that is an abduction.
Okay.
Whereas the kidnapping, we just take you away and we give a ransom amount, and we expect that amount to be fulfilled. So the difference is, abduction, I am taking you away using deception. You see a lot of that with children. Usually, when a father steals, mother and father are going through a divorce, the father steals the child and run away with the child. It is not called kidnapping, even though he took the child from the house and took him somewhere. It is called an abduction. And because he's the father, and he used that the familiarity with the child to show that he is in fact the father, and the child will go with him. So that is the difference between abduction and kidnapping. Good question.
Great. So let's get it straight now. In abduction, the victim kind of participates, but without knowing.
Exactly. The victim doesn't even know he or she is being kidnapped. It's like a husband and wife going through a divorce. They're separated. The husband goes and tells the wife, "Can you meet me at this place? I need to have a discussion with you about the family, about the divorce, and so forth." So she goes and she meets with him, and he takes her away in his car and drive you to Cameroon. It is not called kidnapping then, it is called an abduction, because I use deception and fraud. And also, you participated in it because you came willingly to the place that I asked you to come to. I didn't have to go with a gun and put it to your head. I used deception and fraud to get you to the place rather than a gun.
Okay.
So that is the difference. But the outcome is still the same. I am taking you away from point A and taking you away to point B.
Okay. So which one gets a heavier penalty?
The kidnapping gets the heavier penalty. Another good question. Kidnapping has a bigger penalty, because usually in an abduction, it's death and harm and victimization is not usually the order of the day. But in kidnapping, most people are traumatized. Most people are victimized. In kidnapping, if women are raped, if the money is not paid on time, people can be killed. If the money is not enough, people can be killed. If the person try to escape, the person can be killed. So the problem is bigger in the case of a kidnapping than it is for an abduction. That is why the consequences for a kidnapping is more severe.
Okay, that's good. The next, when you talk about kidnapping, most people, especially in Africa, don't believe they can be kidnapped. They'll tell you, God forbid, it's not my portion. But nobody really prays. All those who have been kidnapped did not pray to be kidnapped. They never knew they would become victims. Now, in case it happens and one is kidnapped, what should the person do? What should be the reaction?
Well, a very good question. I love these questions you're asking today. Because I am sure your listeners are listening to these questions. Well, the first thing, before you even become kidnapped, you're supposed to protect yourself from getting kidnapped. And if you are to be kidnapped in a public place where there are people around, do not go into that car easily. You better create a commotion, scream, shout, speak out, yell, attract attention, because if you do, the kidnappers tend to run away. They do not want to be seen. They don't want to be caught, and they don't want anyone to get into their business. So if you're listening out there, if you are being kidnapped in a public place and there are people all around, even though the people might not lift a finger to do anything to you, scream, shout, put up a fight, put up resistance. They will not hurt you and they will not kill you. However, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning on a dark, lonely road, your chances are not so good. You might as well go quietly and easily with the kidnappers. Now, to come to your question, what should you do once you're kidnapped? This is the most crucial part of kidnapping. What should you do? Don't do anything but comply. Submit yourself, carry out all the orders, be nice, be gentle, be okay with the kidnappers. Don't pretend to be some big shot or some big wig. Don't pretend to be I am mighty, I'm better than you. Just be humble. Don't resist. Just carry on with what you're supposed to be doing, and things can be a lot easier for you then.
So just play along with them.
Well,
you might be too shocked to play along, or too afraid.
You're not really playing along. You're just complying. You just become compliant and submissive. Okay. If they ask you to any question, answer it. However, there's some do's and don'ts. You must submit yourself. You must act as an. Don't start divulging information to the kidnappers and say, please don't kill me. My father is very wealthy. My mother is very rich. She has businesses here and businesses there. She has homes here and homes there. If you let me go, they will give you everything you need. Don't say anything to anyone about anything. Just answer yes or no questions and submit yourself. Don't start giving them information that you're not supposed to give them. And another important thing, always know that when you are kidnapped, while you are in captivity, that there is someone out there trying to rescue you. Someone is trying to raise money for you. You might not know it, and the kidnappers may come to you and say, look, your family doesn't like you. Look at that. They're not even looking for money to rescue you. It's a lie. In your head, psychologically, tell yourself, my family is going to get me out of this alive, and they are out there looking for money, searching for money, sourcing for money so they can rescue me. And that is when you become a captive.
Okay. So why do they really, sometimes we've had cases of where they even collected ransom and still killed the victim. What would have gone wrong?
That good question. Those cases are usually unusual. There is something that went wrong, and it could be maybe they asked for 10 million and they only gave him 4. So the kidnappers were upset. Maybe the kidnappers brought in, maybe the family brought in the military or the police, or said something they weren't supposed to say, or did something they weren't supposed to do. Or maybe the captive, the victim himself, saw their faces or saw who they were, or maybe he tried to escape. But usually 95% of the times you will not get killed. The money will be paid and you will walk away. But whenever the captive is killed, something went wrong somewhere, and it's usually somewhere between the negotiation, the family members, and the victim himself. But yes, people do get killed, but it is the chances are very, very slender that you will be killed.
Okay, thank you. So in cases where usually they will tell you, don't involve the security agencies, don't just come by yourself, should you really obey that? Or maybe secretly, the family should secretly involve security?
You see, now this brings in the element of trust. The element of trust comes in here. If you believe that the police department, the way you work or where you live, in the area where you live, you can trust them,
okay,
then you do involve them, at least do involve the SSS, or do involve the military. But you need to involve somebody in the in the security wing. The problem is, many of these kidnappers have contacts and moles within those departments that if you were to say something, they would know.
okay,
And that becomes the bitter thorn, the bitter pill to swallow. Should I say or should I not say? To speak or not to speak up? So it becomes a problem. I support the police. I support the law enforcement. I support the security forces. And I'm one to say, yes, tell them. But you're taking a chance and hoping that the kidnappers do not have someone within the police department who's telling them and sharing that question with you. Because at that point, the element of trust breaks down and they may kill your loved one.
okay.
But on the other hand, if the police they can actually render some assistance to you in getting your loved one back. And that is helping assist with the negotiation and helping with the delivery of the ransom. But in terms to launch a rescue attempt, that one should be considered very, very calmly. A rescue attempt means somebody's going to get killed. Usually the kidnapped person.
So to be on the safe side, once they say don't involve the police, don't.
I would say don't. And again, if this is Nigeria and you don't know who to trust.
Yeah.
If it was in Canada, if they said don't involve the police, you know that 99% of the chance you could tell the police. Here in Nigeria, it's a 50-50. 50% that, maybe you can tell them and it works well, and there's another 50% that says it might not work so well.
Okay.
But I am on the part of law enforcement and SSS and all of that. I believe they should be told. The problem is, if you were to say something, would they divulge that information to the kidnappers?
Okay. Now, after paying ransom and the victim is released, how do you handle the trauma? How should the victim be handled, to get back to normal?
Well, usually the victim will be traumatized for years to come. And some people don't use the word victim; they call them survivors now. They survive because they've survived a traumatic experience. You know, these people, when you are kidnapped, everybody thinks it's just 15 or 20 guys who comes and kidnap you. Well, yeah, 15 guys kidnap you and have AK-47. But wherever it is that they take you to a place up in the mountains, in the hills. And if you're up in the mountains, there's another 400 men up there with weapons. And they have the system of division of labor. You have the agents who turn you in. You have the kidnappers who kidnap you. You have the negotiators. You have the guys who guard you. You have the guys who cook for you. You have the people who beat you, who torture you, who extract information out of you. So this is a well-organized system. So people, I do not want you to think that this is just 15 foolish little boys who don't know what they're doing. These people know exactly what they're doing. And if anybody dealt with them before, they will say to you, don't take these guys for granted. They know exactly what they're doing. You are going to be so traumatized that for the rest of your life, you will remember it. Especially if you were a female who were raped repeatedly, and because it has happened. And I'm very sorry for women who are in that situation. Because when you're in that situation, anything can go wrong. You can have a group of men who come in and rape you every night. Can you imagine the the PTSD that woman will have for the rest of her life, even after she's been rescued? So you will need some good counseling, some good guidance, some good therapy, some good psychotherapy. You cannot live it alone. Sometimes the lady becomes victimized over again by she goes get stigmatized. Even the men too get stigmatized, but for the ladies it's worse. So after the aftermath of the kidnapping is just as bad as the kidnapping itself. It's hard to be able to return to society in a normal functioning manner. We told you always looking over your shoulder, looking to make sure that nothing goes wrong and no one is out there trying to kidnap you for a second time.
Thank you very much. We'll go on a short break, viewers. We've been talking to Dr. Lionel von Frederick Rollins on kidnapping. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Okay, you're welcome back. Still on kidnapping. Prevention, they say, is better than cure. So, doctor, how should people conduct themselves to avoid being kidnapped in the first place?
Very good, and this should be something everybody listening to. You know, there is a theory, a sociological theory that criminologists uses, and it is called lifestyle theory. Lifestyle theory.
Okay.
The lifestyle you project is a lifestyle that people will see. And if you are out there pretending to be bigger than you are, or to be a big person, that you have a lot of bling bling, if you're pretending to be wealthy and rich and has all the resources that you need, if you are pretending that your family is so wealthy that you can do anything and whatever you want to do, you're sending a wrong message today. Now, maybe 20 years ago, you could have done that. Today, don't do it because it's going to have some serious repercussions. Uh, Agents, kidnappers have agents. They call them agents, who they just walk around and they look for people who are kidnappable, to use that term. Look for someone who is kidnappable. And that person is someone who comes from a very well-known, a very influential family, a wealthy family, or someone who projects himself as wealthy, someone who has a high-paying job or a very important job, because the feeling is that you have money or you have influence. And once you project those images, the agent is going to pass on your name and everything they know about you to the kidnappers. And one day, when you least expect it, the kidnappers will be out there picking you up at your home, perhaps in a bar, or coming out of a beer parlor, coming out of church or mosque. You never know, but they will follow you. They will pick up everything they can about you and then use it against you to kidnap you. So live a simple lifestyle. Vary your routes, vary the places you go. Don't go and take foolish chances. Don't go and get drunk every night in a bar because you can. Be careful with people who, for example, if you went to a wedding or an event and someone comes, the MC announces, make an announcement on the microphone. Will the owner of car YLA 212345 please come on out and move your car? You are blocking the road. If you don't just walk out there and just pretend to be just clueless, go out there with a group of friends, because it might be kidnappers who are calling you out there to take you away. So it can happen in so many different ways. Just be aware of your surrounding. Stop walking around as if you don't know, as if you're living in utopia, because we are not living in utopia now. Just pay attention to your surroundings and you will be okay.
Okay. So, in these days of social media, many people post, I call it posting their lives, living their lives on social media. When they go to the market, they post on Facebook. When they go to travel, they post on Facebook. In what ways? I think these are some of the ways people expose themselves. What advice do you have for such people?
Another good one. You're asking some brilliant questions today. Look, there are people whose only job is to follow people on social media, just to see who they can find, who are most vulnerable, who can they rob, who has access to money, who is showing off their wealth. So if you're somebody out there and you're showing everyone that you went to Dubai this week and you came back, now the next week you're in Paris and you're back, the next week you went to New York and you're back, somebody's going to rob you. Somebody's going to pick you up. Somebody's going to pick up the fact that you have access to wealth, and somebody's going to try to take that wealth away from you. Don't be. I know, and social media is the thing now. I'm not going to say don't be on social media. Just be very mindful of what you put on social media. Don't put pictures of your little children and everything about them on social media. Don't put photos of you in Dubai having a jolly good times. Be careful of how you do that, because the messages that you are putting forth might be messages of a sort that will make you a victim at some point down the road. Stop putting all your information on social media. Just be mindful of what you put on there, because there are people who are called social media chasers who chase you. They trace people all over social media to find out who are most vulnerable and then rob you, victimize you.
Okay, thank you so much. And we've learned a lot. So people, be careful what you put out on social media, be careful the way you live, and in case you are kidnapped, just be humble. Don't give out so much information. Follow through. Your people will definitely work out a pay ransom for you to be released. So we've been talking to Dr. Lionel von Frederick Rawlings on kidnapping. Thank you so much for listening today. You can follow us on our social media handles showing on your screen, or visit our website on www.vanguardngr.com. See you next week.